Risk to keep your past a secret. Stay with us today on Deeper Living.
From coast to coast across North America, this is Deeper Living, bringing the inspirational marketplace to your front door. We exist to bring you the latest and greatest from authors, artists, and artisans around the world. You're going to love this.
Hi, and welcome to Deeper Living. I'm your host, Ginger Garrett, and I'm joined today by fiction author Chris Coppernoll. Welcome.
Thank you, Ginger. It's great to be here.
Now, when I got your book in this press kit, the first question is, what would you risk to keep your past a secret? So set up this novel for me. What's it all about?
Well, it's about the mistakes that we all make at some point in our lives. We do things we wish we hadn't done, and we often feel shame, we feel regret. We wish we could go back and change those things. Of course, the good news of the Christian life is God offers us forgiveness for the past. What would we risk to have our past forgiven, really, is a better question.
Oh,
because
there you go.
If we trust in the Lord, He's able to wash that past away and put us on a new course. This book is about a man named Jack Clayton who has a checkered past. And even though in modern times, 2007, he's living an exemplary life, serving as a campus pastor, recruiting kids to go into communities and help with the poor, he wishes his past would stay a secret. But it's not going to stay a secret because he's also done some writing and has become a public figure. And through the Spirit of the Lord, he has to reveal some things about his past. And the funny thing is, when we walk in faith, doing those things we sometimes least want to do, God has release on the other side for us and reconciliation to a whole world of that we've never really experienced before. He has blessing for us when we're faithful.
Wow, so you are a writer writing about a writer.
And
so I'm wondering, how much of yourself is in this book?
You know, I found that is the #1 question authors are, and I'm dying to use this answer, that it's exactly my story. I just changed all the names. It's all a writer really does. But you know what an author does, and you do writing too, it's you take all these fragments that seem disjointed and have nothing to do with one another, and somehow in our minds they all make sense. So you draw from people, experiences, ourselves certainly, and write a story that's completely made up, but at the same time completely true. If that makes sense. It's a completely fictional story about real things that happen. God loves us. God answers prayer. God wants the best for us. We all mess up. And when we're faithful, God can restore the past.
Well, one thing that I have learned sitting on this couch when I talk to authors is there is a struggle behind every book, and there's also a catalyst. So tell me a little bit about why this was your novel. What was it in your life that said, I'm going to write this message?
That is a great question. That is a great question. It had to do with how God wants to, how does God work? How does God straighten out our paths? If we do the wrong things, where inevitably do those choices lead us? And if we do the right things, where do those things lead us? It's that obscure. And as a writer, I start to untangle those things, and they become characters, and they become setting, and they become story, and layer upon layer like a painting. I have a friend who's a really wonderful painter, and I asked her once, how do you get those brilliant colors, those greens that jump off the campus and the canvas, and those yellows and the sunsets and all that? She said it's hours and hours painting layer upon layer on the canvas to make those colors come out. And that's what we do as writers. We take layer upon layer of these different themes that matter to us. I know this seems awfully obscure.
No, I'm
These
following
different
you.
themes that matter, and then it becomes a story. It becomes a setting like Providence, Indiana. It becomes people like Jack Clayton, who wants to do right but wishes his past could stay a secret. It becomes characters like Jenny Cameron, the love of his life who got away, that he misses even to this day. But God has big plans for their love affair because God cares even about those parts of our lives. It becomes those stories that we can identify with.
So you shared a little bit about all these layers that were sort of settling in your life and working into the book. What was that catalyst moment where you realized it had all come together, you knew you had a story?
Wow. As a writer, it's kind of technical. when I saw there were two stories, this chapter by chapter alternates between two time periods, the pop culture of the 1980s and today. And you think about the pop culture of the 1980s, you have all those great artists, all that great music, that no one had a personal computer, no one had a cell phone, we didn't have the necessary airport security that we have today, no one had a PDA with all their information on it. It was a simpler time back then. And today we have the media, the 24-hour news media, these kind of things. When I saw, I could tell two stories about the simplicity, seemingly simple times of the 1980s that Jack and Jenny fell in love in, and the modern time today. I saw that I had a story I could tell about how two times can come together and explain who God is.
Perfect. Well, we are going to talk more with Chris Coppernoll when we come back.
Come on, everybody.
Hey, for all you've done for me. I really do believe I'm the inside where you breathe. It's the sun who sets me free. He's for everything you are, my Lord, my God, my King, my God. Let God arise in you, let He arise in you and me arise. Let God arise. Hey, for all you've done for me, I really do believe I'm the inside where you breathe. Yes, it's the sun who sets me free. He's for everything you are, my Lord, my God, my King, my God. Let God arise in you, let me arise in you and me arise. Let God arise in you, let me arise in you and me arise. Let God arise. Children of Singapore, children of El Salvador, children throughout the world, rise together now. Children of Malaysia, children of Cambodia, children of Asia, rise together now.
Welcome back to Deeper Living. Our guest today is author Chris Coppernoll, and we're talking about your book, Providence, which is such a great read. It's a guy trying to escape his past into a small town, but it's not really working, is it?
No, it's not working. God lets us run away, but we can never run away from God. He is actually at the destination we're running to. And the character Jack Clayton leaves one small town, hoping when he goes to college, he'll leave all the problems of kind of the growing up thing behind, but those the problems persist. And what inevitably we all must do is surrender to God. The funny thing about being a human being is we always try to get away from God, but we never can. And the greatest destination for any of us is to turn the other way towards God and come home to Him. And as writers, we want to tell that story to intrigue people to try something they've never tried before, if they've never believed in God or trusted the Lord, to try that because they see the characters in our books experimenting with that and finding great joy and deliverance in their lives. And that's what I want to do as a writer. I want to bring people into a world that entertains them, excites their imagination, gets them turning pages and feeling real emotions. But when they get towards the end of the books that I write, I want them to turn not another page, but to turn towards God. Greater.
You know, it sounds like as a writer, you're not only passionate about the story you're telling, you're passionate about that reader and what's going to happen in their lives. Tell me some about, you have some consistent themes in your work. What are those themes and why those themes? What is it when you talk to people that speaks to you and that's what I need to write about?
Well, there's an earthly kingdom and there's a heavenly kingdom. In heaven, everything's done right. They don't do any mistakes up there. There's no bad stuff. There's no stuff that you wish wasn't there. It's all done right. But that's not the case down here on earth. The reason I'm so passionate about these themes and about the readers is because they have their own worlds. We're not just writers, we're readers too. And when we pick up those books, we want to identify with the characters in them. We want to see our stories because we're piecing together the mystery of our own lives and we're looking for counsel anywhere we can find it. So we read not just to be entertained, we read, as C.S. Lewis once said, we read to know we're not alone. We read to know that there's someone else out there living this adventure, and we want to find some pieces to our puzzle that bring a deeper satisfaction, a deeper life to our own lives. And so that's why I do that.
Well, you mentioned C.S. Lewis. So who were some of your influences when you were growing up, when you were reading? Who were some of your fiction influences when you were writing?
Wow, lots of influences. It's funny what we read and what we take from those different novels. I'm a big fan of Max Lucado, Frank Peretti. I love Brennan Manning on the Christian side. On the mainstream, I love John Grisham and Sue Grafton, the Alphabet Murder series. It doesn't sound very Christian, but it's a good mystery. And I like those kinds of things. But you know, if I had to sort of boil it all down to what I love in books, I love to escape into a world that the author has created. The author gets to put all the furniture just where we like it. You know, it's exactly the season we want, it's exactly the setting we want, it's the characters the way we want them to be, and we get to explain something about God's kingdom in a way that it's tough to do any other way. And you know, being an author, we make all decisions about things. It's not true of the filmmaker. It's not true of a lot of other art forms. But with writing books, we can completely tell a story that brings a reader in and lets them know kind of where our hearts are at and touches them, hopefully.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you a tough question now. You're a writer, so you're spending a lot of time alone in an imaginary world with imaginary people, and you're writing about people who are running away from the real world. What was God teaching you when you were writing this book?
Wow, he was teaching me that he has such a plan for our lives. And I cannot explain it. I don't know that philosophers can explain it. Somehow he has a plan set in motion. And it's like he's given us the kindling and the firewood and the paper. He's given us all the pieces. And when we bring our faith to all that he's set in front of us, the spark's created and the fire can start. I don't know, I can't explain it, I'm not a theologian, but it has to do with these things. As I wrote more and more, I saw that God just has a plan for things. But he allows in his plan for us to step on board with our own faith, and that's when it starts to move. Ultimately, our books are saying, everybody take another step closer in faith and try this life. It's really real. You can't see it with your eyes, but it's real. And so that's what I learned in writing this book.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're taking a lot of what you talk about in this book and you're putting it into real world action. Real briefly, before we go to commercial, tell me a little bit about Providence Cares that you've started.
Providence Cares is a foundation to help families who have a child who needs a liver or kidney transplant. I was really shocked when I found that families have to raise tens of thousands of dollars on their own. Even if they have great medical insurance, they still have to raise all this money. And I just thought this would be such a wonderful opportunity to show the love of God like the characters do in the book, but we can do it in the real world too. By having events where I'll visit a family in their community, they invite their friends, it's an author night, I read, I sign the books, and for a special donation, we raise funds that go to that family to help with their medical costs, procedures, aftercare, all of those things. And I just couldn't be more excited about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about writing about values and then living them out. That is an amazing organization. And you've actually seen this work out in the communities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have events planned in the Atlanta area and then plan to go in the other parts of the country as well, and just continue throughout 2007 and 2008 doing events for Providence Cares.
Perfect. Well, I want to talk more with you about how your fiction is impacting readers' lives, and we'll be right back with author Chris Coppernoll. Stay with us. Welcome back to Deeper Living. We are here today with author Chris Coppernoll, and you have written such a great story. The novel is called Providence, and you've been sharing with us about the characters and also how you're taking this message of hope into the real world. Tell us about the organization you've started, Providence Cares.
Providence Cares is a foundation that raises money for families that have a child who needs a liver or kidney transplant.
Okay.
And really this came from a conversation I had with my good friend Barb King about her daughter Olivia.
Okay.
And I got to know a little bit about the circumstances and the situations that families face, and so I asked Barb, would it help at all if I came to Atlanta and we had some kind of an event where she would invite her friends and church family, and we'd have to have an author night, and it just seemed like a small offering, and I didn't even know if that would be something that would really be useful. But Barb just thought that would be a great start, and that started to touch other families. And the hospital is involved with it, and social workers, and they are supporting this. So we have a team of people that want to reach out across the country and touch families through Providence Cares. And I'm just so delighted to have Barb and Olivia join me on this couch, because they're wonderful people, and it's great to work with them on something that's so needed.
Absolutely. Barb, tell me, why is this issue so close to your heart?
7 years ago, we all have our normal lives, and we're walking around with our beautiful children, and everything's wonderful. And on one day, our lives turned completely around. Olivia was almost not with us. We had no idea. She was that ill. After a week of discovering that she had her liver was not functioning, they life-flighted us to Children's Health Care here in Atlanta. And we thought for an evaluation, but they were actually getting ready to transplant her.
Wow.
But actually she was too ill to even withstand the transplant. So that set us on a course of completely different lives.
Right.
Chris and I had known each other for years, working in Nashville and that kind of thing. And so after her transplant, which was 4 months later, it was phenomenal, the amount of money that it took to do the transplant. But in Nashville, people were raising money and things went great. Well, everybody thinks it's all over once the transplant's done, yay. But Olivia had tons of complications, and we've been fighting for the last 7 years, and we have to have another one.
Oh, wow.
And so, but Chris has been my friend and stood by my side. We have several friends that are just wonderful. And so when he suggested this, you have no idea.
Really?
Because it is so, in your normal heart, it is very difficult to say, I need help. Because we are trained that we are supposed to do it ourselves and be self-sufficient. The bigger thing is that, you know what, that's not how God set life up. And the cool thing is to see God work through this circumstance, and to see people that you would never, Chris thinks it's a small thing. God has made it a big thing. And our heart has always been to get to a place where we could help other families. And now we're going to be able to do that because there's 2 other families that are going to be benefiting from this, and the hospital's gotten behind it. It's just phenomenal, phenomenal. And we just, words can't express just the heart.
Well, Chris, what I admire is you took something, a novel, and there's no really clear-cut connection between a novel and transplants, but you found a way to use your talents to serve another family and to give them hope and grace. And Barb, tell me, what would you say to a family who says, I know I have a neighbor who's hurting. I know that they're in financial trouble because of medical bills, but I don't really have anything to offer. What would you say to them?
I have a ton of friends that say, what can I do? And as the family, you say, pray. But they're not living your everyday. If God tells you to do something, just do it. Because we did a little yard sale. And we made $3,000.
Wow.
But all of our friends, all of them said, we can do something. But if God tells you to do something for your neighbor, just do it. Just listen. Don't ask them, because if you ask them, they'll say no. Because we think that it's asking too much. We think that it's not the right thing. So just do it.
Well, you're really talking about just putting yourself out there in faith. And Olivia, tell me, what has it meant to you to have this much support?
It's actually been really great. I never thought I would get this much.
Yeah?
I was just actually, I had joined 3 swim teams in 1 year.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they had all been doing raffles for my transplant.
Uh-huh.
And it was just amazing. I never knew I'd get this much support.
Yeah. You feel pretty special? Yeah. So is Chris the first author you've ever met?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met another author.
Yeah? You think he's pretty good? Should we have him back sometime?
Yeah, and you're going to read my book too, right?
Yes.
Well, fantastic. Well, we want to talk some more with you. I have some more questions that I want to ask you. So y'all sit tight, and we will be right back on Deeper Living.
Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. From the Father of lights, from the Father of lights, we move there. He's no changing. From the Father of lights, who's always the same. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, every good and perfect gift. Let's all sing it together. Comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. From the Father of lights, we move there. He's no changing. From the Father of lights, who is always the same. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, yeah. Up we go. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, yeah. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift Every good and perfect gift.
Hi, welcome back to our final few minutes with author Chris Coppernoll. And Chris, you are also a radio host,
That's
right?
right.
Soul to Soul Radio.
Yeah, since 1994, I've been hosting a radio show called Soul to Soul.
Okay.
Which, kind of like Providence, the book, I just started with asking that Henry Blackaby question: where is the need? When you want to find what God's will for your life, where's the need? And I found out there were lots of radio stations playing great Christian music, but the listeners didn't necessarily know who the artists were.
Okay.
And I was working in Nashville at the time, and I said, well, I'm in a recording studio with a lot of these artists. I'll just ask them to talk about their album or their ministry. And it started to turn into a radio show that we produce and is sent all over the world now, 30 different countries. And we've gotten the chance to talk with, Casting Crowns and Third Day and Jeremy Camp and Michael W. Smith and just all these great artists about their heart, their ministry, their music, and people around the country are touched by those stories. The same thing we're doing together. It's just getting the message to as many people as we can. And it's a wonderful thing to be working on.
Yeah, well, one final note I want to hit on this book is it's a very romantic story.
Yes.
And you're a guy. So what are your female readers saying about what is it like for a woman to read a romantic story written by a guy?
Well, men can be very, very romantic, of course. We like to buy the flowers. We like to delight a woman and let her smile and let her know she's cherished. But I think for all the women readers who want to see that, this is their chance to see the men's perspective, how a man thinks about it. When a relationship doesn't work, what are the reasons behind that? What is the man thinking? And when the relationship does work, what is behind the heart of that? And all the special moments in between, all of the dances, slow dances, and the conversations and the quiet moments between two, those are captured in this book, and I hope it will really delight female readers especially.
Well, you talked about the process of when you're an artist and you're writing, and you describe it as putting layer upon layer. But you know what I think you're doing is you're really taking away layers, because you're really getting to the heart, whether you're talking to your guest on radio or whether you're writing this book. And what is your life's message? What's on your heart for the next, say, 10 years of your career?
I like the verse in the Bible that talks about reconciliation, and we're ambassadors on behalf of God as if He were speaking through us.
Wow.
We're here saying to people, come join this kingdom of God. It's different than what we're living here. It's a land of honesty. It's a land of authenticity, generosity, care, deep friendship, blessing, promise. It's all the best things you can imagine are wrapped up in this world, and it's available to us. And so I want to be an ambassador and just reach as many people as I can with a real faith in Jesus Christ. That's the message of my life.
And when your reader closes this book and they finish that last page, what are they going to feel, and what do you want them to do with that?
They're going to feel that God is a wonderfully real part of life, and they're going to turn, I hope, they're going to turn to God and say, I want this for real. This is a fictional story, but the truths of it are not fictional. They're more real than the world around us. And I want people to turn to the Lord and say, I want this for my life. I want to feel your presence in my life. Without the presence of God in us, we don't have anything else. It's the most distinctive thing about us is His presence in our hearts. And so every day as a believer, I want to cultivate that afresh in my life, and I want to offer it to people around me for their own lives, that they will believe it in their own way.
It sounds like you're doing so much ministry through your writing and your ministry. Tell me really quick, how do you stay fresh?
Every day start with that cup of coffee. And the Bible. I have to do a devotional in the morning to reconnect. When I go to sleep at night, it gets unplugged. And I have to get back in the morning and plug it back in so I'm connected to God.
Perfect. Well, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you too, and we'll see you here next time on Deeper Living.